She's the midnight mistress of fairies and dark mischief. He's the paranormal beacon of mystic fairs and government leaking. If the dark side had a prom, they would be the king and queen. They live the metaphysical and make a wicked awesome team. From every single culture in every corner of the globe, they creep the lore and legends just to keep you in the know. For some it's hyperbole, fantastical and myth. For them it's all too real and your paradigm will shift. It's forever Halloween with all treats and no tricks. He's got a thing for witches and she's all Stevie Nicks. So welcome to our carnival of the weird and the bizarre, where UFOs and curses take shape beneath the stars. Sit back, relax, open your mind and stay a few. It's time for John and Stacey, and do we have something for you? Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And bodacious and hot.
You can continue.
Yeah, I could. But I've got other stuff to talk about because this is the pod after mania.
It is.
Yes, it's that one time a year, folks, when Stacey is completely bored out of her gorge. As I know,
Not this year. I just parked myself on the couch and watched some Netflix.
As I not only take and indulge with my daughters into the wonderful world of WrestleMania, but I also go all the way and buy the big package and watch all the indie shows, which is what I'm really worried about with a lot of my friends and whatnot. It's just what I enjoy. And it's good once
a year.
It's good father-daughter time.
Yes, it is.
It really is, especially when you spend so much time in the paranormal. Every now and then it's good to maybe break away from that for a second. And, you know, we'll dive right back into it later. We'll get real deep. It's that time of year. I'm starting to notice. I'm starting to plan and plot our trips. And
starting to get a little warmer.
Oh, yeah. Because you're seeing it's just like living in The Shining up here. I mean, it really is. I could see, Stephen King was absolutely, he was inspired by that hotel, but there's more to it. He was inspired by living in Maine. I'm sorry.
He had to be.
I don't care where they base it at. The very fact that up here, when it turns winter, it dumps a mountain of snow.
Yes.
And
a ton.
That snow is there all season, and all the winter season. And it's still snowing. It snowed this past week, but
I know.
It's supposed to be starting to get warm, like heat wave warm, which would be 65 for us.
Yes.
So it's starting to, and that makes us go out and find places that are really cool.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Yeah. We've been going anyway, but it's like in mud and nastiness,
and
all
crazy
this stuff. So, hey, something cool. I just want to talk about this. What is the one thing that I don't believe in?
That would be coincidences.
I mean, it's the top thing I don't believe in. There's a lot of other stuff I don't believe in.
There is a long list.
But I would say the stuff I do believe in mixed with the stuff I don't believe in. Like, I don't believe our government. I don't believe it's probably very different than most people's list. Like, I would say you could probably switch my list with most people's normal on what you believe in, what you don't believe in.
Right.
But at the top of that list is coincidences, quinky dinks. I don't believe in quinky dinks.
Right.
So I believe that every quinky dink is some kind of spiritual force.
Right.
Some kind of something we can't explain, something more than ourselves, something from the universe.
Like a message, maybe.
It's a message. It's a sign. It's an omen.
Right.
It's something we need to follow. And it goes with the point that once I opened my eyes years and years ago, and some people call it being awake and, sort of pulling yourself out of the matrix. Different kind of awake than what some people are using it for these days. Ours that we're talking about is, it's got to do with conspiracies. It's got to do with what they want you to buy as this reality is not really that true, I don't believe.
Right.
Right. And one of the big things with that is I don't believe in coincidences, and I pay really close attention to things like deja vu. as well.
Right.
And dreams. We'd pay attention to everything. I mean, we pay attention to weird animal things that are happening, which are happening all over the world right now.
Yes, they are.
Very strangely. Although I do think they're looking into it a little bit too much.
Right.
Like,
right.
I think, I had a cat that was howling at the end of the street, and that's got to mean Armageddon. No, it probably means the cat, like, is in heat. and you need to keep it away from other cats.
Right. Yeah, like some of it's normal, weird animal behavior. It's weird, but it's still
absolutely
normally weird.
Even the dive bombing hawks, I believe you got a message from somebody saying, hey, that's normal this time of year.
Right. Yeah, because of nesting and stuff like that. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm not saying they're all like that.
No.
But there is, I mean, the last week we had those eagles. It was like one eagle, then another eagle. And it's like, come on, man.
You don't just see eagles standing on the side of the road.
No, not like that. Not like that. So, I mean, we put a lot of stock into this stuff, and it's because it's what we do. I mean, it's just what we do. And we've been around enough and opened ourselves up enough to all this that signs and omens normally mean something. And I just thought it was cool this past week. Somebody was having a terrible issue with an incubus type haunting. It was scary. It was dark. But as I was talking with her, I got details, and this has went on for a while, and I've been slowly dealing with it with her. And I try not to make it worse,
right,
by adding a lot of fear. So I'll use a lot of tongue in cheek when I'm helping somebody,
right.
Even though I may be concerned, I try to put a little bit of humor in it, like I always do.
Right.
Every situation.
Feel better about
exactly.
it.
Every situation. Even when I have to tell someone uncomfortable in my daily life, I do it sometimes in a different way than most people, because I want to tell them the truth. That's one of my biggest things. I don't want to lie to you.
Right.
So it might not be what you want to hear, but you're going to hear it. But I'll try to make it a little bit easy by putting some humor into it. So that's what I was doing with her. And this went on for a while, and it's been some terrifying stuff. This shadow person wearing a hat, the Hat Man. Now, there's a lot of stories about this dude.
Yeah, we've heard quite a few.
Yeah, out there. There's actually a new documentary coming out from Maine. Oddly enough, we noticed it because it's from Maine, and also dealing with
shadow people.
We started this whole journey of ours because of hardcore shadow people. And, so we know beyond a shadow of a doubt.
I see what you did there.
that it's a real phenomenon. And no one could ever tell us different, because that's what we've seen. And we both seen it together. So it's one of those things that you can never tell us anything to the contrary to what we've seen in the broad daylight.
Nope, exactly.
And, we wouldn't have the show right now if it wasn't for that. So when these paradigm shifting things happen to somebody, I take it very seriously. I love talking to everybody who converses with us on the show. I love listening to their stories. Sometimes I just say, thank you for sharing. But this was different. And for some reason, when I'm talking to her, I'm just telling her, look, you've got power over this. You need to tell it to leave. There was some sleep paralysis going on as well, which I've also dealt with. And it's terrifying. I've been paralyzed in the floor and heard the darkness speak into my ears and scare me to death. That's not a good feeling. I've laid there paralyzed and heard doors slam in the house. And this was back in this was in a turbulent time for me. It doesn't happen now. I have a lot of protection now. We'll talk about our protection here in a moment that some of you may want to try, because it's easy to do. Some of the easier protections. We're like Hogwarts up in this bitch right now. Like we've got McGonagall out here with like Flitwick and all kinds of big stupid wands out going on, and keeping Voldemort out. But we'll tell you some simple protections. But back to the story. I digress. Helping this girl, we'll call her Amy Anonymous, and helping Amy Anonymous through this. All of a sudden, something hit my head, like not literally, figuratively. Right. And I was like, this reminds me of the entity case. And it really did. And this was just, this is probably bad. I never read the case study on that.
Right.
But I did watch the 1982 movie.
Oh, well, you're an expert.
So it's a damn good movie. And I did watch the movie. But it's still somewhat of an obscure movie on a Saturday afternoon to just be thinking about, right?
Right.
So it just so happened when I texted this back, she was watching the movie. She had never seen it before, and it had come through her recommended viewing earlier in the day.
And she just decided to watch it.
And she decided to watch the movie, had just started the movie when I said, you should watch The Entity. Now this
that probably freaked her out.
This is not a story to scare anyone or mess with anyone. This is a very true story. That's about something that happened. And I like to share the things that show how weird our life is. Now I know I have gifts.
Right.
And there's no question on that as well. We've had too many things happen and we know what goes on there. I'm not the Long Island medium. I have gifts.
I don't think you have the hair to pull off Long Island medium.
And that's enough out of you. So anyway, coincidences. Going back to coincidences, it started making me think of some of my favorite coincidences.
Okay.
And one of my favorites is World War I. There was a German boat that wanted to get past, and they were trying to figure out how to get over and do their thing, right?
Right.
So they disguised themselves as a British boat.
Okay.
They were in the water, and they come in contact with a boat. The boat they try passing is the boat they disguised themselves as.
Is that coincidence or is that karma? I mean, what is that?
It's a little bit of both. I like stuff like this. I'm just warming you up here.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And there's one I heard or read one time, and it was about a guy leaving work, and he was walking home from work, and a payphone started ringing right beside him.
Right.
And so he answered the payphone, because I do that too, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just always hope that it's somebody, like, I always hope it's Colin Farrell on a roof or something. Going, just like.
You can't leave the phone booth.
Don't move. What? Don't move. But anyway, I'm always looking for an adventure.
Right.
And the guy answered the phone, and he recognized the voice, and they knew his name and was talking to him. And he's like, what the hell? And it was his secretary. Okay. Because he had left the office, and he was just like, this is, she's like, well, I called your mobile. And he's like, no, you called this payphone somehow. And she rechecked the number, right? She called, it was written down on a piece of paper. She called his payroll number. like he had a payroll number or something. And, and it was the number for
some random payphone.
Yeah. That she called.
That's so strange.
And that's a story from overseas. So the numbers are different. They had, it's not like a 1-800 thing. I thought that was a cool one, but one of my favorites, and then there's millions of these. So I have a really cool one.
Okay.
Now, this is one of my stories that, for mine, no such thing as coincidence, and I believe that it's got something to do with the universe pulling things together. It's a story. I wanted number one, I wanted a story that people could look up.
Right.
And easily, and it's relevant and all that good stuff. And probably one they haven't heard, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But it's really kind of proves that theory. There was a little girl, and she was born without legs. And unfortunately, right? And she was put up for adoption. And she was adopted by a very loving family. She was given the name Jennifer Bricker.
Okay.
Despite having no legs, Jennifer grew up to develop a love for gymnastics. Okay. Jennifer comes to idolize Olympic gymnast Dominique Marciano. And that was like the 96 Atlanta Games. And every generation falls in love with certain ones. Little girls idolize people, and, Mary Lou Retton and all those. But, this little girl with no legs, sweet little thing, she idolized gymnastics and Marciano. So Jennifer collected posters of Dominique and watched all of her events on TV religiously. One day, Jennifer's parents came across Jennifer's old adoption papers, and Jennifer's the sister of Dominique.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And they got reconnected after all those years. There's videos you can watch of it and everything.
Oh, and so she just like had a connection with her sister that she didn't know was her sister.
Yeah, and Jennifer's a gymnast now.
Oh, wow.
With no legs.
That's awesome.
And yeah, she does her thing. But she followed her dream. But the weird thing is that she had no idea.
Right.
And not only did she just love the sport, she was completely fascinated by Dominique.
Yeah, that's crazy. Gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. That's when things happen, such like the entity. When I was talking to her, and she was like, "Should I not watch it?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, watch it. If that's happened, you need to watch it." And I was like, "That also with the Hat Man deal, you know who he is now." And I gave her some ideas on that to help her with the whole Hat Man deal, and told her the power that she had over this. Well, she took my advice with the power that she had over it and what to say and what to do. And she was happy to say that she feels better and has not had the issue.
Oh, well, good.
So she even had a sleep paralysis issue without it happening. So, fingers crossed.
It's a step in the right direction, I suppose.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. And I thought I would, weird everybody out with a good little story there, but
a good coincidence story.
Yeah. It's when I was talking about protection, some of the easiest protections is quartz over top your doors and your windows. We have that in every room in our house, just because we overdo it a little bit, and on the four corners of the yard. And you pick your own, wash it in some running water. We choose the ocean, let it charge up in the sun, and put it in a bag or something over top of your doors and your windows. And you don't have to be as conspicuous as we are. Because if you come in our house, you're going to see little sacks and bags all over the place. And
it does look quite suspicious, doesn't it?
That's just how it is. And that's not the only stuff. We have other little bags of things.
Yeah, we do the mayapple root.
Right.
A couple little different kind of crystals out in the yard. And just,
crystals on our bodies. Crystals in our pockets.
Yes.
And all that good stuff.
But it works because we don't usually get anything negative in our house. We still have things in our house, but it's nothing negative. Nothing negative.
No, and we haven't had in a long time since that started to happen. So
that's true.
We also believe in this thing that if you put a pencil on the table and you happen to believe that pencil is going to protect you and you hold that pencil all the time for protection, that there will be something about that pencil that protects you. And whether or not, that goes back to the power of the mind, right?
Right.
Whether or not it's all in your head, okay, so it's all in my head, right? It's still scary and it's still happening, and this pencil protects me. Why not just carry the pencil?
Exactly.
And we know it's not all in our heads. That's what we were talking about earlier with the shadow people and stuff.
Right.
And most people listening, they know what's up, right?
Right.
And speaking of listeners and that know what's up, I'm going to have to give a little props.
Okay.
Mr. Nicholas Zarita Pereira. I wanted to give a little bit of props to, once again, my buddy from Argentina.
Yes, Argentina.
I feel bad for Juan Cruz Martini, losing his spot. I can only have one cool friend from each country.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, I've still living in the MySpace world where I've got a top list, and Juan Cruz, I'm sorry, there's only 8 places, man, and I have friends from Australia.
Is that why you have those pictures hanging on the wall? Those are top friends?
Yeah,
is that what that is?
I move them around.
I was wondering.
I really miss MySpace. I really miss having my top friends because I used to get so mad.
That was a thing.
It was a ranking system for me. I didn't just do willy-nilly.
Oh, wow. And you know what? You're a guy who really likes lists.
Oh, yeah. If you were my number one, you were my number one.
Right.
And I didn't even let family on there because that's another category.
Family are not friends.
No, they're not friends. They're family, right? And so it's not like that now. Then now I would actually put my family as my friends because I like my family better than my friends. But it meant something to me, and all my friends knew it meant something to me, and it made it even worse for them.
So when one of them would really make me mad, I would drop them. They would like drop, and they could drop like from number 5 to number 6, and I would get a phone call. Seriously, I almost lost friends before. I had one friend that would block me, Josh Hopkins. That I'm hoping that one's listening. But he would block me when I would drop him a spot.
Right.
And it was really a big deal. So yes, this is why I do this. You know, we got Alan Turner over in Germany, and he kind of counts for England. But I got another English bloke, and got a Canadian. And yeah, I've been keeping up with this. So anyway, Nicholas, and he sent me some really cool stuff. So we get stories sent to us all the time, right?
Right.
Well, this one I kept waiting to see somewhere, and I'm not seeing it pop up anywhere.
No.
It's a video though, and as always, you decide. But you need to check it out on our website.
Yes, I'll link to it.
Because on our website, it's definitely going to have a link, and we'll even put, hey, here's the video sent to us from Nicholas. And it's really cool. It's kind of creepy.
I can't tell you how many links on our website say things like, here's the video John talked about during the show, or here's this random story John brought up. Okay,
listen, I get a lot of videos sent to me, but this one I kind of believed.
This one was crazy.
It's crazy, but this one I'm balked. Like a lot of times I'm kind of like, well, that looks like a sheet on a clothes hanger, but
right.
This one looked really legit, and it's never been picked up by anybody in the States. So I want you guys to take your time, go check this out. Stacey will link it up there. Say, here's the video from Nicholas, and you got to check this out, guys. This one's kind of creepy. I like it. I like this one a lot, a whole lot. But and if you want to know where do you need to check that out, it's ParanormalSideshow.com. That's where you find everything creepy. On Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. All kinds of creepiness on there. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. There's so much creepy on there, I can't even contain myself. On Instagram, Hot Creepy Damn. It's John and Stacey Edwards. YouTube.com/ParanormalSideshow. There's so much creepy on there. Honestly, it's like a rabbit hole of creeptation. And please take a moment and out of your life, your busy life, and like us. Own something. Hopefully you like us already, but like us on a device.
We're asking for love. Please love us.
Please love us. Follow, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or if you just want to go listen to it on ParanormalSideshow.com, that would be fantastic. We really appreciate it, and we've been, getting some of the shirts being sold, and that's awesome. From tpublic.com/user/Paranormal Sideshow. That's TEEpublic.com/user/Paranormal Sideshow. We have a big selection of shirts we are designed, and by we I mean Raja, and it's they're on there, so show your inner weird with that. And honestly, I really want to put a big thank out to Jeff, one of our listeners, who also went the extra mile with inviting a bunch of people off his friends list to like the show, the show page on Facebook. Awesome. I really appreciate that. Our Old Haunted South page had a ton of likes, and it's hard going from one to another. And,
right. We did change quite.
And I absolutely refuse to ever pay for that stuff. You know what I mean?
No, we don't want to do that.
Anyway, just like us on Facebook and get on the ground floor, folks, because this thing's a rocket and it's taking off, and there's a lot of things brewing.
It's not a Mad Mike rocket.
It's not.
It's like a legitimate rocket.
It's a legitimate rocket. There is some things brewing, and a lot of you's guessed. And when you do guess and you send me a message, I tell you the truth. So I can't tell you the truth on the air, but if you guess and you give me a message with that guess, I will say yes. So you guess, I say yes. But speaking of guessing, it's now time for Paranormal News.
All right, let's get to the news.
But before we get to the news, I think that we need to get to the thing you were discussing before the news, before we went on the air tonight. There was like a new study and all that stuff. I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Oh, no. I mean, I can at least talk about it. It's a study from Finland, a Finnish study that these women were doing about what they called uncanny experiences. Basically, they wanted to know why paranormal experiences, people that had odd things that happened to them, were not more widely accepted.
Right.
And the whole article is really interesting, and I'll actually link to it because it's a very interesting read. But basically, they figured out that more than half of the people in the Western world had at least one experience that you could basically say was paranormal. You don't hear hardly anything about them. Like they're very stigmatized.
Right.
And so they were doing the study trying to figure out why people would have these uncanny experiences, but then you would not hear anything about them.
Right.
And as you're reading through this study, it's really fascinating the way that they discuss how modern science doesn't take these things seriously. They don't take people's stories into account, and how that the evidence for some of these things like precognition and, deja vu, things like that, how there's very good statistical evidence that these things are really happening. And for anything else, right. And for anything else, like if they had statistics this good for something that was mundane or already accepted, it would be fine. But because it's something out of the ordinary or something that not everyone believes, then they just don't accept it. They say that it's not real. It's not good enough evidence.
Something above the normal.
Right, right. And one woman was even talking about how she was speaking with another researcher that was not going to take any of this seriously, and basically asked him, what kind of statistics do I have to have? What kind of proof do I have to have for you to believe in this? And I think she was speaking of the precognition. And,
right.
And she's like, if I had all this, would you believe in this? And he said, probably not.
Right.
So basically he was just saying, because it doesn't fit into modern day thinking, modern day society, science, whatever, that, it just wasn't widely accepted. And it's really interesting also because they were talking about how most of the people that contacted them for the study wanted to tell their stories and wanted to explain how they were stigmatized, how they felt stigmatized by just giving their examples. For instance, if you went to like a priest or a doctor and you were telling them that you were having this experience.
Right.
And so it would be the doctor or the priest's, job to decide if you were being honest or if you were, sick in the head. And most of the time they lean towards you're sick or you're having a psychological issue or you need
72 hours observation.
Yeah. A lot of people got put on medication or told they were schizophrenic or, things like that. And now this study was just based in Finland, but it, I think it's kind of like a view of the world in general.
Right. Absolutely. It's a microcosm of the world.
And I thought it was really interesting because you always say that everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Because everybody does.
I was sitting here thinking that. I think that's our next T-shirt. But
yeah, it could be.
I was sitting here thinking that because that's something I've said since we first went on the air 8 years ago, was the fact that everybody has a paranormal encounter or they know someone who does. It's that close. It's not even Kevin Bacon level. It's not even 6 degrees. Normally the vast majority of people, and when I pressure people, even the ones who say no, like the stark skeptic, like, no, I don't have a story. I know, nothing has ever happened to me. And, I'll talk to him and I'm thinking of one in particular, Scotty, who finally was like, nothing's ever happened to me, man. Nothing's ever happened to me. Well, on Christmas every year, ever since Papa died, he opens all the cabinets in the kitchen and we can go close them and every one of them will open back up. And he said he was going to do that or whatever when he died. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. That's a paranormal experience. That's a paranormal encounter.
That's not a normal thing.
No, that's not a normal thing to happen, and that's usually what I get. People say, oh no, I've never had one. I see my mom at the end of my bed. But she loved me and no. Yeah.
I think it's because a lot of people associate paranormal with bad, like if scary or bad or something like that.
A lot of times they block it out too. Like they don't think about it until you start prodding them because like you said, there's a stigma.
Right.
And you can't just go into, now I try to break that. I make it okay. And it's so funny at my work because people are expecting, like, I chronicled this before, but a lot of people who work for me discovered the show.
Right.
It's popular. But they discovered the show and they were listeners, right? And they would come to me like it was some secret, you know, they'd be whispering like, hey, I know what you do.
Do you just whisper right back?
Like, I saw your show. No, it doesn't bother me. That's the whole thing.
Right.
Is I don't care. I am out of my paranormal closet, and it feels fabulous. It doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Right.
Because what happens is people start talking about it. Because I like to normalize things. I like to normalize things that we all do. And you can let your little dirty minds go all to town right now. But if everybody in the world does something every single day, why do we act like we don't know what you're talking about? And you know what I mean? It just that there's some things that just bother me. And I understand being around polite company.
Right.
And, you know, there's couth and all that stuff. But I get also really tired and exhausted and sick of it. And a lot of times people who make fun of these things, make fun of the UFO abductees and stuff. How would you feel if that was your daughter? How would you feel if that was your wife that felt like, I'll be fair with it, that felt like they had been abducted, had weird marks on their bodies, felt like they'd been violated when being abducted. This is heavy cases. And people laugh, people make fun, and all these, you know, in this age of people being upset, and, you know, hey, you can't make fun of this, you can't say this, you can't do a cultural appropriation, you can't do any of this, right? There's not anybody standing up for people that have been victimized or believed to have been victimized with UFOs, with demonic cases, with those entities. And that's why I will spend quite a bit of time talking to somebody who's had an issue.
Right. Well, it's like you said earlier, you know, and along with, like, in this study, they didn't take all these stories and these experiences and try to decide if they were real or not real.
That's not the point.
They took them at face value because all the experiences were real to those people.
Exactly.
And that makes them real.
Yeah.
Because if somebody believes that that's happened to them, then for them, that is a real experience.
It's exactly what we talked about with protection. If I believe that pencil is going to protect me, that pencil can protect me.
Exactly.
Whether or not that's in my mind is not the point. The point is it protects me from whatever is in my mind, you know, or it's my power and my energy and my chi and my universe putting protection into this for me.
Right.
And we all have that protection inside of us. And I truly believe that's the case. And we'll get back on track after this, but one of the earliest forms of protection I ever used was Stacey. I just threw her at the ghost. Stacey.
Yeah, there's something scary in there. Here you go.
It was a weird pause with me saying that. That's why I said it like that. I remember us being on a case, and Stacey was like, just imagine that light. Just imagine this white light and inside of you and growing and going outside of you and all around you and protecting you. And it's funny because Serena Gordon also said the same thing. And I can almost see Serena's little redneck light coming, you know, like, y'all gonna have to go away. I love Serena so much.
She's adorable.
But it works. It works. Now, I don't know if, you know, it's all energy, right? It's all energy based. The ghosts are energy. I don't know if they see that energy and it's kind of like these two big middle fingers coming up, you know, going, y'all better go away before I open up this can of whoop ass. But, you know, whatever it is, it seems to work. It does seem to work. But yeah, interesting story. I wanted you to touch on it. And, you know, it does go back to the whole thing we were talking about, the whole thing we were talking with the coincidences and the, and, you know, the experiences.
I'm going to link to it and so you guys can read it. It's a little bit long, but I mean, they've been doing this for years. I mean, it's been years.
That's
they've been
amazing
working
work.
on this. And they've even, one of the women even wrote a book. And
I'm gonna have to read it.
They chronicled at the end of the article that after her book came out, she worked for this university.
Hope it's
really
translated.
prestigious job.
Right.
they actually fired her from her job. Like she got called into the office and she thought they were going to congratulate her for her work and they just took all of her.
You were kidding me.
Stuff away. No, she works at another university now, but she was just amazed.
See, this goes back. this goes back to something else we've discussed many times, and it always bears repeating, especially now. They want you, they being universities, they being people who fund these universities, they want you to fit everything into their nice little curriculum. If it does not fit the curriculum, you best not be working on it, young man.
Exactly.
If you go out and you're digging for dinosaurs and you happen to find a missing link, you happen to find a giant.
Just put it back.
Yeah, you find a human riding a T-Rex with a, you know what I mean? Right. With a transistor radio. They don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. And too many cases come where we hear about people that have been silenced. We hear about people in Egyptology that control everything that's found and completely cover everything up. I mean, completely, just blatantly. And we just blindly accept it all.
Well, we'll never go there because they probably heard our podcast where you talked about wanting to blow up the pyramid, see what was in it.
Well, yeah.
So we're going to be like, can we come to Egypt? No, you can't come. No.
Well, I'm just saying it makes me mad. And they yell pseudoscience when I think these maverick archaeologists are the only ones really doing science. It's kind of like the people on the cutting edge of the whistleblowers, and they're the real renegades, the ones you see being arrested, the ones you see being shut down, the ones you see being trying to be silenced. Right. They're the ones that are doing the real work. Yes. And just always remember that if you're being put on a pedestal by a university, more than likely it's because you were a yes man and yes woman.
You towed the line.
You towed the line. You've towed the line pretty nicely. Now, I'm sure there are exceptions.
Oh, of course there are exceptions to everything.
So if you are one of those people who are, not like that, this is not about you. This is this saying, in our experience, the vast majority of people tend to try to fit everything into their, phony baloney job.
That's right. All right. Well, let's move on with our other news stories. I actually have an update. And this is from the CDC scientist that went missing.
Yes.
Do you remember? Timothy Cunningham.
Yes.
And this was months ago. He went missing from the CDC. He was feeling ill.
He was.
Said he felt bad. He was going to go home. Went home and then just absolutely disappeared.
Off the face of the planet.
Nobody knew where he was. And his body has been found. He is dead. Oh. And his body has been found in the Chattahoochee River. Oh. And
way down yonder?
Several men were fishing along the river and
the Chattahoochee?
Discovered, yes,
That's
his
terrible.
remains on the riverbank. And it said that rough currents made it hard for fire officials to recover his body because it took several days to identify it because it had been supposedly in the water for nearly 2 months. Now, they're saying that there's not any foul play, that they feel like he just drowned, that there's no foul
just happened
play.
To fall into Chattahoochee.
I guess so. It also does say in this article that fire officials had previously searched the river after he first disappeared and they didn't find anything. And now they've found him in the river.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems a little strange to
me. Something's up.
Seems a little strange to me. And there were a lot of rumors going around about this story. Like a lot of news outlets reported that he left his job because he didn't get a promotion, but that actually wasn't correct because he actually got a promotion like early weeks before.
There was a lot of weird information come out around this.
There was. And then there was another story that he had gone to his neighbor and asked his neighbor to have his wife delete his information from her cell phone. Like his phone number and stuff.
Yeah, strange
There's
stuff.
No explanation for that. And then when he disappeared, he left everything, his car, his keys, his dog, and so it was everything about this story is just very strange. And now even finding his body is very strange. Yeah. Also.
No, it's very odd. It was completely out of his character. He was an upstanding dude and everything about it's crazy and the weird stories coming around about it. Not everything, we say this a lot too, not everything is a conspiracy, but sometimes it is. And the fact that this guy worked at the CDC in Atlanta would make me probably leave Atlanta for a while.
I thought it was funny because I did see this one statement by the CDC where they were claiming that they were addressing the rumors that maybe he was stealing some kind of bioterrorism thing and all that stuff. And they were like, no, he didn't have access to any of that. He was different, classified different, worked on a different floor. And I kept thinking, because nobody can sneak around or do something they're not supposed to do.
Look at NASA. Look at NASA and all their freaking moon stuff.
In their clean room.
In their clean room. It's NASA. It's freaking NASA.
Exactly.
So don't tell me what can and can't be done.
I don't know. I just thought it was really strange. And you know, I know they're just going to brush this under the rug now. Oh, it's sad. He drowned and no, there's no foul play and, you know, case closed. But I don't know. I find it very odd.
I do too.
I find it very odd. Well, let's do another update. And this one has a little happier of an ending.
Well, good.
This is the hiker that went missing in Dyatlov Pass.
I hate when you start out with murder. So, did they find the guy from Dyatlov?
Found. And
we did it. We did that.
Did we do that?
We did that. The damn Yeti listens to the podcast. It was like, they know.
Well, the weird thing about this is I actually only found 2 stories about him being found. There was tons of stories about him missing because obviously everybody grabbed that story.
That's exciting.
It was exciting. And the 2 stories that I found, I guess, were translated kind of quickly because they're really hard to read. Like the English doesn't make a lot of sense. But from what I can gather, he hurt his feet. The weather actually delayed him.
Both his feet.
Both his feet or his ankles were hurt. One article actually said he broke both his legs, but I don't think that was translated properly. I think maybe he just had injured his ankles or something like that. But he had come across a hunter.
His elbow came out his anus.
He came across some kind of local hunter and he was having some trouble. The hunter offered to help him. He said, no, I'm still going to go on.
What's your elbow coming out your anus, son?
And then when the hunter came out, he told them where the guy was. Like he gave him coordinates to where he had seen him, and the rescue guys went and found him.
Found this weird boy with an elbow sticking out his anus.
That's the best I can ascertain from these 2 articles that I found. There's only 2. But it did have his name, and it did say that he was found and that he's in satisfactory condition.
What kind of information do you? I know you have a lot of sources, but this one like ... stop, like hiker found stop.
No, it's just like okay, like this.
No Sasquatch. Full stop.
This one article said that the hunter offered the man help, but he refused, and the hunter said the tourist goes slowly on skis. His legs are erased.
Wow.
That's the translation. So I gotta kind of figure out what that means.
We got to get a better source in Siberia.
I guess so.
Like the job's open, folks.
Well, you know, I just thought it was weird that nobody else reported on that. Like they found the guy. It had his name. It was him. And it was hard.
That's why people choose us.
I barely even found that.
If you want your news with your updates, choose Stacey. And you could find all that on paranormalsideshow.com.
There you go.
Because she has all her stories on there.
I'll link to both articles.
All right.
Both Russian articles. So he's found. It's all good.
They're going to start thinking you're colluding.
All right. So this next story, we have to talk about the Buzz Aldrin thing.
Yeah, the astronaut in the room.
The Buzz Aldrin supposedly passing the lie detector test that he saw a UFO in space.
Right.
So this is the article that has been hitting everywhere with the big sensational headline.
It's because people only read the headlines.
I know. Isn't it awful?
It's pretty bad.
Okay. So if you've seen this story, hopefully you've read into it more than just the sensational headlines.
Our listeners have.
So supposedly this test was done by this place called the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology in Albany, Ohio.
Sounds like a place at the first of a comic book.
It really does.
Doesn't it?
Yes. And so they were claiming, this article says that they claim that they did lie detector tests on 4 different astronauts. You know, Buzz Aldrin, Al Worden, Edgar Mitchell, and Gordon Cooper.
Oh, Edgar's not. Yeah.
Well, Cooper and Mitchell are both passed.
Yeah.
So, but this article
they did really well in the test.
This article is like they all took part in this test.
It hasn't moved a bit.
They were like they all took part in this test. So I don't know what they define take part in, but what they've actually done is they've taken recordings of all these astronauts who were talking to other people at different times,
right.
You know, from documentaries, you know, interviews, different things. And they've run these recordings through some kind of software that they call bioacoustic biology. And their results were that they were not lying. And the funny thing about it is the clip that they used from Buzz Aldrin, he didn't even say, "I saw a UFO." He said that they saw something strange out the window.
I've heard it. I've watched everything he's done.
I mean, it's not.
He just said
he didn't even say what they're saying he said. So.
No, because he saw some weird lights that followed along with him.
Right. And they didn't know what it was, and it could have been a reflection, and it could have been
a lot of things.
Yeah.
So there was actually a great Newsweek article about it. We got that because they were talking about it on a Facebook friend of mine. A lot of people's going to know Tim Woolworth. Yeah. Anyway, he asked Alejandro Rojas from OpenMinds.tv, who actually had the Newsweek article. Like, I hadn't seen the Newsweek article yet.
No, I hadn't seen this one.
But pop that thing up there. And it's really had some great information in it about the article. I mean, about the story and everything. You know, again, we can link to that.
Yeah. And Newsweek actually said they reached out to Aldrin's people to ask about it. And they were like, we don't know anything about this. It's bogus. You know, don't believe it.
We don't have any clue about it. He's busy. He's busy with a pyramid in Antarctica right now.
And Newsweek actually reached out to this woman named Sherry Edwards. She's the one from the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology.
Obviously trustworthy.
Did not respond. And I actually went to their website, and there's not a single thing on their website about this study.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if there used to be and they pulled it off after the article and the blowback, but there's not anything on there about it. There is a lot of interesting stuff on there. Like, if you look at that Sherry Edwards, if you look at some of the stuff she's written, she's apparently used her bioacoustical thing for a lot of different paranormal things.
I mean, you know, so I use my Wicklander training for paranormal.
Right.
I use it all the time. When we're on an investigation and it's a client at a house, a lot of times I'll use a video camera going back freaking, oh my God, 15 years or maybe the whole entire 20 years. I use a video camera and I tape the client and go back and watch the responses.
Right.
For nothing else than, I mean, it's just an added layer of protection or maybe there's little nuances because, you know, the world of neurolinguistics is infallible in my book because there's some things you can't help the fact that you're doing. Right. And those are the things I'm trained to pick up on. Right. Just because of the courses and the time that I've spent with that study. And Wicklander's the best in the world at it. So I do believe that you could go back and watch a Buzz Aldrin interview.
Right. Well, that's different when you can actually see them or especially in your case, when they're talking directly to you and you can interact and ask them questions. But I think it's a totally different thing to take a different science. Somebody's.
My science goes to the fact of establishing a baseline with you. Like I'm going to ask you something that I know the answer to. So I would ask you your age and you would say 28. And I would be like, okay. And then I would ask you your eye color and you would say beyond gorgeous and indescribable. And I would be like, yes, that's correct. And then I would ask how many partners you've had. And that's where we would probably have something happen to the entire ordeal. And we would have to go back to step one. So just playing.
I think we should move on. Let's move on to the next story, shall we? All right. So anyway, Buzz Aldrin deal, bogus. Don't believe it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, here's the thing: moon landing, bogus. Don't believe it. The aliens are here. They are here, and they are loving it, and there's a lot of things we believe in. There's a lot of things that are really true. I'm not so sure the reptilians are not in the freaking underneath us, digging out. I'm not sure that they don't run the country. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of level we're at, guys, girls.
They're close to telling us. I mean, all this UFO stuff in the news.
There's so much out there. They're definitely close to telling us. And are you going to talk about the crazy UFO stuff?
No, but now that you bring it up, there was that UFO story. ABC News did a story on UFOs and how they've captured the attention of the world.
Yeah, ABC News, guys.
And it was this huge, I will link to this article. It's this long article, and it starts with Roswell, New Mexico. So it talks about ancient aliens.
Not cutting you off. It goes through everything.
Yeah.
Everything that we talk about, ABC News did an article about everything. It's everything you ever wanted to know about UFOs, but were afraid to ask. That's not the name of the article, but it should have been. And it's just out there. But here's the thing. there's no tongue in cheek.
Right.
This was giving you real news, real articles about this. And we were like, what the F?
Yeah.
It was like, what's going on? But this is kind of what we're talking about. Now, there is really good stuff out there, but there's also hogwash. And if it is hogwash, we'll tell you it's hogwash. And I was really enjoying that too much. And the Buzz Aldrin thing is one of those things that make us mad because it was pooty,
right?
And it was baloney, caca. But yeah, that ABC News article, jeez, it's so weird.
Yeah, and it was long and really in depth.
Yeah, absolutely,
it's crazy,
absolutely.
All right, so let's move on. This next story is really interesting. They have actually found new Nazca lines. Isn't that cool?
It really is cool, as long as somebody doesn't drive over them.
Well, the funny thing is the way that they found these new lines.
Trying to fix the old ones?
Yes, they got a grant, and not from the guy that drove over them. This is from the Greenpeace thing back in 2014. They actually, Peru allowed them to...
That one event made me want to go get whale oil and use it as my heating source. Okay? That's you preserve your stuff, I'll preserve mine.
Well, they got a grant. Peru gave a grant to allow them to send drones in to see, to check the damage and look at everything, map it, make sure it was all good. And they were able to hire these people to do this. And when they sent in the drones, like a lot of this area has not been aerially mapped like this. Like
that's weird that it's not been.
Well, with such high definition cameras, like
Still, yeah, it's weird.
It is weird.
I mean, if you got this one area where you know that, oh, here's the secrets to the universe from the ancients that they only could see from above. Why the hell haven't we went over that already?
Well, I mean, we haven't had drones, but for so long.
Okay, all right.
But I don't
continue.
know.
Pray continue.
They like to preserve these areas. So this is the first time that they've sent in these drones with these really high definition cameras, and so they've seen never before seen detail.
Right.
On the on the different.
I hope it's
areas.
something flaccid.
Well, some of the new found lines belong to the Nazca culture, but not all of them do. They did find some that were from earlier cultures that were a little bit different. Like the Nazca ones are more like geoglyphs, but they found some that were look like humans and
with big
and things
penises.
like that. Probably.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that in here.
That's my favorite thing about some of these old cave art and stuff.
It says most
it's totally me back in prehistoric times. It's just, it always reminds me of the first of Superbad.
Right.
When he's going through his notebooks and it's got everything he drew with like penis rockets and this and that.
I'm pretty sure even when we first met, you were still doing stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I'm probably this afternoon.
I can't tell you how many things I've seen you draw out of boobs. It's
my God.
It's amazing.
Yes.
You can turn boobs into anything.
Anything, yeah. and that all comes from fourth grade. I was drawing boobs because I was trying to figure out what they look like. And I've always been very artistic. And so I was drawing boobs, and my teacher, who was that? Mrs. Sora. My fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Sora, was coming back my way, and she was a brute, dude. I mean, she was like one of those that looked like she probably came from Germany and used to like carry beer barrels on her shoulders.
Right.
And she didn't take kindly to, stuff like that. So I'm sitting there and I'm drawing it, and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good curvature on him. I was pretty happy, I always like the more natural boob, you know?
Right.
And so I was sitting there drawing, and here she comes. And I'm like, oh, God, I've got boobs on my desk. And they've already had nipple put on them. Okay, so if it was just boobs, you could make like a number 8. You could do all kinds of stuff with it, right?
Right.
I had nipple, and oh my God! So the only thing I think of, I drew a line around the top of the boobs, made them into a pair of glasses, made the nipples eyeballs, put a nose there, a smiley face, and I made this. Now I still got in trouble for drawing,
right?
But it was a lot better to the fact that I drew this big Ziggy looking son of a bitch than the fact that I would have been drawing boobs.
Right. I think boobs requires parental consent.
Yeah.
Or parental, conversations.
So with my friends, it became my titty people. And that's what I called them in 4th grade. And all my friends would come and talk to me about the titty people. So I had a whole I had like the titty people city, and I had the titty people clans, and we started these clan wars between the titty people. And we had the elders, and the elders were these saggy titties. So they had like these eyes that like hung down. And
you're a terrible child.
And this was all in 4th grade. This was all in 4th grade.
Wow.
The same year I wrote my first rap song. Seriously, that was with all the metal music that I sang and I wrote. I have bags and bags full of practice room tapes. I have full albums, all metal and punk. Right. The first thing I ever wrote and the second thing I ever wrote were rap songs. And the first rap song I ever wrote, Snowing in My Pants. That's the name of the song. In 4th grade was Snowing in My Pants. Okay. And I don't know why, but it was about a guy who had to pee real bad in New York City, and he couldn't find a bathroom because nobody wanted to let this guy come in and use the bathroom, right? So he ended up having to do his business. Now this is in 4th grade.
So he peed his pants. You called it snowing in his pants. Yeah, and it
ended up being snowing. And all the snow started coming out of his pants, and people like knew what was going on.
Oh wow!
And then the next one I wrote was called Golden Rule. I remember.
Was it about peeing also?
It was not.
Okay.
So here you go. This is like a special for our listeners.
Right.
Okay. We always bring you into our lives. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not going to rap it, but I am going to talk it.
Okay.
So Golden Rule was written in my 5th grade year. It was my follow-up to my Snowing in My Pants.
More sophisticated.
Oh yeah, much. I was a lyricist by this point.
Right.
I was on the beach and it came to mind. All I wanted was to have a good time. And then this girl came up to me. Hey babe, want a party? I said, yeah, sure, your place or mine. She said, right here, because I haven't much time. Why here in the middle of the beach? Because my man's coming back and he's very mean. And then there was like this scratching part, okay? And then this golden rule, and it went on and on and on. And the last verse I remember though, and it was like, now let me make just one thing clear: I wouldn't do this with just any deer, but in my current state of mind, all I wanted was to have a good time. And that, boys and girls, is the very last rhyme, because the golden rule is to have a good time.
Wow.
Yeah. So my buddy had to be my beatbox. So I would actually do this for girls and on the playground.
Right.
And I would be like, kick it, T. I would. And he would stand there and he would just be like, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Well, I mean, you were in the 5th grade.
Yeah. And I would do my arms back and forth, and I would like absolutely I would perform it. People would come around. I would perform it in front of people because I never cared. The amount of F's given are so low. And
God.
Yeah. So I thought I would share that. Now, if we went to school together, would you not have been charmed?
No, probably not. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason you didn't tell me that story before we were married.
So let me give you one more real quick.
Oh, you're adorable, weren't you?
So in 7th grade, seventh grade, I was in love with this girl. Okay. And still hadn't really got my music thing going right.
Right. Were you still rapping?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I had went on to more of a top 40
gotcha.
top thing.
Okay.
I hadn't really hit metal yet.
Right.
So, but I was experimenting with instruments such as out-of-tune dulcimers and Casio keyboards.
Of course, the Casio keyboard.
And my piano.
Gotcha.
So, I was experimenting with all these things, and so I decided it was time to make a full song for this girl I was in love with. So I wrote this song called "Think of Me." And it was something about when you lay your head on the pillow at night,
I'm sure it was very sweet, actually.
Dream of me holding you tight. You know, if there's, you know, something, if there's strife for you, I'd fight. I just want you to think of me and all this stuff. Right. So it was like perfect. Right. And so she was just like very popular cheerleader. Like she was always the head cheerleader. Even when we got to high school, she was that, that was that girl.
Right.
It was like a freaking 80s movie. And so it was so bad that me and my friends, I used to have people that didn't even like me spend the night with me to lay in my yard with binoculars because we lived next to her. It was that 80s movie. It was that 80s movie.
Gotcha.
And I was Corey Feldman.
Right.
It was that 80s movie. So I wrote this song, performed it, wrote a note to go with it. And I gave it to her on the bus.
Oh boy.
And I told her, and just for argument's sake, let's just say her name was Chrissy.
Okay. And
I gave it to Chrissy. And she said thank you. And she was really sweet about it, you know. And I knew this was it. Like I could see everything. Because guys do this too. What people don't understand, guys do this too. I seen us walking hand in hand. I seen us spending the whole summer together, riding bikes together all over the place. And, you know, maybe, you know, and I wasn't a dirty kid. Like I was thinking of holding hands, you know, stuff like that. But instead, the next morning, there was nothing really bad. And we were standing there waiting on the bus. Nothing really got said, right? So we all, a big bunch of us kids stayed at the bus stop.
Right.
So she was not really paying that much attention. And she kind of turned around and she goes, hey, she goes, I listened to it. She goes, it was one of the sweetest things I've ever heard. And she goes, you haven't really took any piano lessons or anything though, have you? I was like, no. Well, my aunt showed me a couple things, but no. And so that was about it. We went through the day. She was a year ahead of me, right? So on the afternoon bus, I rode the bus, and I got off the bus with 8 girls.
Right.
It was me and 8 girls.
Sort of set the
and
thing for your life.
5 of them were attack Mormons. And there was these Mormons that lived across the street from me, named the Smiths. Their last name was freaking Smith, and they were like Mormons. It's like, is that not like having the last name Christ for Christians? You know what I mean?
Right.
So they were all girls, and they were mean, dude. They were like Mormon ninjas, and they hated me.
Right.
We just didn't get along.
Right.
And and then there was one girl named Francie. And Francie lived up there. She was cool, you know, everything. But we got off the bus. Well, we were on the bus. I apologize. We were on the bus, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting about midway back, and it's just me and those girls left.
Right.
We're probably got 10 minutes left to get to our stop, and all of a sudden, I hear my song.
Oh no.
On a boombox, on a big boombox, I hear my song playing, and for just a split second, I was trying to figure out how many ways I could commit suicide with the bus window. So I'm sitting there, and there was a boy that got off before me, Robbie McCormick, and we were really good friends because he lived right up the street from me. We rode bikes all the time. As soon as he heard it, he starts giggling, like right off the bat. He's sitting beside me, and I'm like, no. And he's like, that's it, isn't it? That's it. That's it. Dude, no. He's like, you're dead. And I'm like, oh my God. So I turned around, and they were all laughing, including Chrissy.
Oh, you poor thing.
They were laughing so hard, man. And I did my best not to, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I said the B word. It was the first time I ever said it in my life.
I think she probably deserved it.
And I heard it, but it was the first time I'd ever said it in my life because I didn't cuss. I was not that kid. And I was just like, you bitches. And I was so upset. I went up to the front of the bus, and I never talked to her like that. Like there was a friendly thing here and there after that. But man, I believe that may have been the day that created me, that created the cynical.
Right. Well, I mean, after that and after the whole Valentine's Day thing,
It was bad.
I mean, you had some rough times when you were a kid.
You see some of the issues here,
I think I'm beginning to understand.
and those are actually what's funny. When my dad and my son Cody were on their way up here to visit us, they were listening to that episode.
Were they?
And Cody asked him, he's like, "Is all that true?" And Dad's like, "Yeah, I remember every bit of it." It's absolutely true. So my hope is, Amy, Chrissy, if you are listening somewhere out there in podcast land, I want you to go to my Facebook and I want you to look at my pictures, and then I want you to go look at every other picture of the guys from high school. And then I just want you to reevaluate your decisions you made it early in life, because baby, you ain't getting none of this.
Oh, wow. You poor thing.
Yeah, it hurt.
I'm sure it did. I forget what we were talking about before we went.
I think we were
this.
doing some kind of paranormal news.
I think so.
Or something like that.
Oh, Nazca lines.
Nazca lines.
Yeah.
Somehow it triggered all this. Wow. What a crazy
Those
story.
things are paranormal, aren't they?
Wow.
Okay, so.
No such thing as coincidence.
So they found more than 50, some Nazca, some
I
earlier.
know what it was. It was a Nazca penis that caused all this. It's like the nasty lines.
I get it now. I remember. Okay, so let's get back on track.
Please.
Okay, let's get to the next story.
All right.
We're going to leave the Nazca thing.
All right.
Woo, okay.
In my defense, if you ever watched Joe Rogan, it goes, I actually have watched him introduce a guest and then just start talking about whatever the hell he wants to for like 2 hours.
It doesn't matter. I like getting off track. It's just sometimes I lose how we got where we were going, and I like to retrace.
And sometimes it's scary when you find out it was because we were talking about a flaccid Nazca line that some ancient took the time to make.
All right. Well, this next story, this is an interesting story.
All right.
So this is another one of those articles with the big headline saying that a vital ingredient for alien life seems to be missing from the universe, and maybe it's not going to be as easy to find alien life now as everybody thought it was going to be. Yes, one of those articles.
Right.
Because everybody thought it was going to be easy.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So what this is talking about is they did this study on phosphorus in the universe.
Oh, yes.
And I'm using the word study kind of lightly here.
Right.
Because what they've actually done is they took some readings from the Crab Nebula.
They did.
And they found much less phosphorus present in the Crab Nebula as they did in this other supernova that they had studied previously.
Right.
So that's it. That's the whole of the study. Now, I'm not going to put this on the people that did the study, because they actually did say during the study that this is very preliminary findings, that there is a chance that they didn't find pockets of phosphorus, that, they still have a lot of work to do.
Space is big.
Yes. So they're not saying, and they did say that, I think what they said was the amount of phosphorus being shot out, since it seems to be so random,
Right.
that it would suggest that there's less of a chance that the right chemical mix could get near a right planet to spark life. So that's what they said. But then, of course, when the news got it, they took those little snippets of words and were like, less likely to find alien life now, you know, and made it sensational.
Yeah.
So this,
The same news
yes.
that talked about the Dyson sphere. The most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Right.
That's all they could talk about 2 years ago. They're like, we believe that they built this giant man-made contraption around the planet. And I'm like, you won't give me the fact that a UFO may have used warp speed or something and come here.
Right.
But you'll tell me that they've created an alien megastructure? I mean, where did we jump to alien megastructure.
I know.
You know?
I know.
So basically they looked at these two places and in similar conditions as our Big Bang or whatever, or similar conditions to our formation of our planets and stuff. And,
right. Like it's releasing the chemicals or whatever.
So how much phosphorus, which is a key ingredient for our base of life form.
Right. For life as we know it.
As we know it.
Exactly.
Because life could be, as we have discovered, at the depths of places that even on our own planet, in Antarctica, I do believe in Antarctica, they found that deepest lake they had ever found. And there was life down there. And they were like, there's no way there could be life. That cave.
Yeah. Like I was going to say, we've talked about caves that have been sealed up for millions of years. And they open them up and hello.
Yeah. And
there are things in there.
They find life that cannot. Well, and they changed things. It was like previously we didn't think life could exist here. But here's the clue, guys. Life finds a way. Life finds a way. Okay. So yeah, they looked at these two. I get it. And there wasn't, but you know what? There still was phosphorus. There just wasn't as much.
Exactly. And we're talking about 2 supernovas in the entire universe.
And we're also talking, once again, we made a joke a couple of podcasts ago about the reflector lights and, you know, putting Jimmy in the room and having him just think real hard.
Right.
Because that's how they're measuring. Okay, to measure these things in deep space, they are using computer programs. They are using... basically, have you guys ever owned a camcorder? I'm going back a few years here. Sorry, dating myself. But the camcorder would go to like a times 12 zoom. And up to that times 12 zoom, it was amazing.
Right.
You could zoom it in and up to times 12, it was really cool. Now, after times 12, it would say, you know, 3,000 zoom. But after times 12, it became a digital zoom.
Right.
And digital zoom takes the 12, stick with me here. It takes that time 12 magnification and increases that using digitizing and computer.
Right.
And it's still that 12 times.
Right. Just bigger.
But it digitizes it and pulls it in bigger. That's how that works. I mean, I was electronics whiz for many years. Unfortunately, I had to be, and I sold them and stuff. And that always bothered me because the zoom looked like crap. The real zoom, you know, was wonderful, but the digital zoom was terrible because it was just taking whatever lens capacity we really had and digitizing it. So it was never clear or anything. Basically, that's a small example of kind of what they're doing here. And I'm not saying they're wrong. They measure light. They measure, you know, this has this light here. It doesn't have it here. This is something similar to, we know what this is, you know, that kind of stuff. And most of what they do is, fancy as it is, smanchy as it is pretty damn close to pseudoscience itself.
I agree. I got really tickled at this story because I thought, how funny would it be if they had done the Crab Nebula study first?
Yeah.
And then did the other supernova? The whole story would be different. It'd be like, we found so much more phosphorus in the universe. Oh my God.
Right. Good point.
So, you know, it's all about perspective, but,
that's so funny.
But like I said, it's,
so if they'd have done the one, yeah, that's really funny, Stacey. I like that.
So, but like I said, it's not the people that did the study that are claiming these fantastical things, you know, it's the articles, but if you happen to see this one, don't worry. We're still likely to find some kind of life in the universe. Right. This doesn't change that. So yeah. But I'll link to it. It's an interesting.
I would be happy to find intelligent life on Earth
somewhere. All right. Well, let's move on. Okay. So this story is about a strange animal behavior. And we've had a lot of these stories.
There's been a slew of them.
So this one's about zombie-like raccoons in Youngstown, Ohio.
Of course it's in Ohio.
So there was a bunch of reports of raccoons acting very strange. They were not afraid of people. They could not be chased away. And
rabies?
No, not rabies. They were tested. Not rabies. But this particular article that I've got was talking about this wildlife photographer who got his camera to document what he called extremely strange behavior by this raccoon that was in his yard. And he said it would stand up on its hind legs and it would show his teeth, and then he would fall over backwards and go into almost like a comatose condition.
Right.
And then he would get back up and do it again. And he said he attempted to scare the raccoon away, but the animal didn't want to go anywhere. And he'd just walk around and then he'd just keep doing it again. And the police were actually called to 14 similar situations in the past 3 weeks.
Wow.
So it's something that is happening just in this area.
Yeah.
So they've actually gathered up the raccoons. Most of them have been put down. They did test some of them because they tested them for rabies, but I know that it was not rabies. They are testing them for something called distemper. It's another disease.
Yeah.
I thought I read somewhere that distemper isn't usually so widespread.
It's very rare.
But that's what they're thinking because that is the behavior for that. But it's really odd that so many raccoons would have the same thing.
It's very strange.
Especially with all the other weird animal behavior.
Yeah, like the birds.
I would like to give some props to Youngstown, Ohio, though, who is not going to be outdone by their strange raccoon behavior because they have a clothing company, the Youngstown Clothing Company, who actually made a t-shirt. It's a zombie raccoon t-shirt, and they put it for sale online. And it is actually just been wildly popular. Like it is flying off the shelves.
Of course
everybody wants their zombie raccoon t-shirt, and they actually take the proceeds and send them to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Wildlife
But
Division.
she sent it to the family, those poor raccoons they put down. They're like, dude, we had a party. We were like walking around. Yeah, we stumbled a bit. Jesus, you know.
The shirt's really funny. It's like this crazy looking raccoon with red eyes, and it's just a zombie raccoon. But they thought about doing the shirt, you know, just because it was a local sensation kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was in the news, and they thought they'd get a few shares, but it went viral, and they can't even hardly keep them on the shelves. So they're really excited about that. But you can still get one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll link to the article. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it really is, except for the fact we don't know what happened.
No, I know. But I think that they feel like they've got it contained now that they've caught. So
that's the start of the movie.
Well, let me tell you something. I did read in one article that one of the raccoons they were trying to catch, they didn't catch him because he fell into the river.
Oh, God.
So that is definitely the start of a distemper raccoon in the river kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So this is the story about the coin that the Canadian Mint has put out now that showcases the Falcon Lake UFO encounter.
Yes.
In Manitoba. So if you don't know about this particular UFO encounter, it happened in 1967. A man named Stefan Michalak went looking for precious metals near Falcon Lake. And he actually observed two crafts come down from the sky. So they appeared in the sky. One landed and the other one went away.
Right.
And so he actually observed it for like a half an hour. He was kind of hiding behind a bush and he watched it. And after, he watched it for a while, he decided it was just going to be some military experimental thing. It wasn't anything too scary. And so he approached it and he said he actually touched it and it burned. He had heavy gloves on and it like melted the fingertips of his gloves.
Grating and stuff from the exhaust. Too.
Yeah. And said there was an opening and he put his head through and then it like expelled a cloud of gas and it knocked him off his feet and it burnt his shirt. And that's how he got that mark on his stomach that looked like, and I think he had the mark until he died.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
So
I knew this story well.
Crazy UFO encounter. And the Canadian Mint decided they wanted to, memorialize it with a coin, like one that you just buy from the mint.
It's an awesome coin.
It is. And it's kind of like
I want it so bad.
It's funny because it's kind of like this odd oval type shape.
Right.
And I think that one of the original designs, they wanted to make it glow in the dark as an alien head.
Right.
But they scrapped that. It does glow in the dark, but when it glows in the dark, it looks like the exhaust from the UFO taking off.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very cool looking. It's a $20 coin, but it costs $129.95.
Yeah. Very neat, though.
But it's very cool collector's item.
I love it. If you're a coin collector, it's a must-have, but it's very cool, and it's a great story, too. I mean, it's one of the better sightings out there because of the physical evidence that was left behind and the fact that it's never been able to be solved. And, the Canadian government is
Yeah.
memorializing it.
Yes. Well, it's funny because this article is actually with his son, Stan. And he said that he was really surprised that they called him out of the blue and they're like, look, we have this idea that we want to. They were going through, I guess they were trying to come up with coin ideas. And so they were doing some history and researching and they came across this story and they were like, this is great. Let's do this. And they called him and he was blown away. So his whole family is just really
To be fair,
happy about it.
They haven't really done much with Stan since he wrote that letter to Eminem. And let's just go continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, so a couple more stories here just to touch on. This one's about the Queen Mary. And the Queen Mary has decided that they're going to start renting out the most haunted stateroom available for the first time in 30 years. Public didn't used to be able to stay there. Now they can.
Cool.
Yes. Well, it is cool. And, there's a lot of stories about the Queen Mary and all the haunted things that are going on there and stuff like that. But I feel like now that they are renting out this room, it's just going to get a lot worse because it says in this article that guests that are brave enough to rent out the haunted room will be provided with tools such as a Ouija board, a crystal ball, tarot cards, and ghost hunting devices, as well as, their regular amenities.
Wait a second.
So they're going to rent out what they're calling their most haunted room. People haven't been allowed to be in it in 30 years. And when you rent it, they're going to give you all this occult stuff to use while you're in there.
No, why haven't they allowed people in that room for 30 years?
I don't know. Because it says that they've had a lot of people request it, but it didn't.
My memories of the Queen Mary are always from the ghost hunters thing with that tour guide. And she was kind of caught building up stuff a little bit. And I mean, they did get some great evidence on there.
They did. They did.
But she was kind of, like it came across like she was building it up a little bit.
Right. And trying to make it seem more. Maybe they want it to be the most haunted stateroom.
Yeah.
And that's why they're giving you all the stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just weird that that place has been played like a fiddle. I mean, but there's been so much good evidence come out of the Queen Mary. I mean, there's amazing evidence. It's one of those things that go into my theory that you could open any house and have investigators come in there every night after night after night after night, and they're leaving their baggage there, their emotional baggage and their ghost and their problems, and it creates this effect. But yeah, that's just interesting to me. I'd like to know why it's been closed off for all those years.
I don't know, because in this particular article, it just said that it had been used occasionally for the paranormal tours, but that it's been sealed off from the public since the 80s. So I don't know why that particular area was sealed off, but they are going to start renting it starting this Friday, the 13th.
Of course.
And it rents out for $499 a night.
That's not bad.
No, not for something like that.
Not for something like that.
And, you get all your complimentary, occult items to use while you're there.
Yeah.
And that'll be very interesting.
Okay, so don't use the Ouija board.
Yeah, really.
I mean, if you're going to use the Uaga board, please don't do it at the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's probably not good.
They're going to create a portal to hell. I mean, it's just going to be
seal that room off again.
Just a portal straight to hell. It's like whoever came up with this. I just picture this being the first week. Like Amber just got hired, and she's normally a party planner.
Right? She's like, this will be fun.
And they're like, "Have you ever done anything with paranormal?" She's like, "Well, I did used to do a rahaki." And whatever they pronounce Reiki,
right?
Rakuku, and I've done some party plannings. I've done a couple of bar mitzvahs and stuff like that. And and they put her in there, and she just like, well, what's paranormal? Let me look it up. Okay, there's Ouija board. I mean, that's the only thing I can imagine. It can't be somebody who really has been in paranormal and knows,
or is worried about that. It's obviously somebody that doesn't think that that's going to cause a problem. So
with layman users, I just don't get it. I mean, I don't know.
I know. Well, you know what? Maybe it'll generate some news stories in the future for us to do on the show. So possible update coming from the Queen Mary.
It's like next year we're going to hear like come investigate Queen Mary. We provide you with a Dybbuk box.
Leave with your own demon. All right. I think you have to pay extra for that. All right, so this next story is about a discovery.
Right.
And they discovered huge dinosaur footprints on the Scottish coast.
Oh, very cool.
And
how did they not already discover that?
Well, that's what I thought was so funny about this story. They were hiding in plain sight. Apparently, they look like tidal pools until you get down in there and you can see that they're actually the shape of dinosaur footprints. And they've really been studying these for a couple of years. Like they were discovered back in 2016.
Right.
And then they sent a team out there to start studying them last year. But the problem is you can only study them at low tide.
Well, of course.
So they'd have to go out there and have timers on, and watch the tide, come in and out. And they got this way where they can map them with 3D cameras. And, they've just been working on it for months. And so they're really excited. And they actually have found a couple other areas they've pinpointed that are possibly have more of these large dinosaur footprints. So these are like long neck dinosaurs called sauropods.
Right.
And they already knew, I think, that these were in this area, but they feel like that these dinosaurs are classified as mostly staying in certain swampy areas. And,
how cool
this is a little different.
I wonder how big those dinosaurs are.
I don't know. Because, it's funny because I looked, when I saw this article, I tried to find somewhere where it said the measurement of the footprint and I couldn't find it. There's some pictures where you can see like some tools sitting next to one of the footprints. So they're not like, you can't get in it and lay down. Right. It's not big like that, but I think they're bigger than most other footprints that they've ever found.
Isn't it so strange
that
the earth was just once inhabited by these dinosaurs?
Yeah.
I mean isn't it weird when you really stop and think about it? And I know we just all accept it, and that's fine. Okay, we accept it. We accept every story they tell us and all this stuff. They don't freaking know. That's why right now the most popular shirt at our store is the Scientists Are Baffled shirt.
It is.
Probably bought by scientists' wives
probably.
or husbands. Anyway, the it's really crazy when you think about the dinosaurs, and 65 million years ago, and they're just all over the place. These gigantic, story, legend. I mean, this gigantic beast and these, and this was their world. This was their planet. It's just so odd.
What blows my mind is even what we learned about dinosaurs when we were kids, that's all different now.
Oh, absolutely. It's completely different.
Like there was only certain kinds and now there's so many more and they're different than what they thought.
Yeah, maybe maybe in 100 years they'll start telling the truth and they'll know that humans were, had electricity and all this stuff.
They were inviting the dinosaurs over for dinner. It was all civilized.
I hope the dinosaurs talk. That's my big thing. Like I want to think about the dinosaurs clocking out at night and be like, "See you tomorrow, Frank. Have a good one, Jim. You and the missus getting into anything? Nah, not really. Want to play some Rook? Sure.
Rook. All right. So this next story I thought was kind of funny. And this is about a 16th century painting that was discovered hidden in the storeroom of a museum. Because museums don't check their storerooms enough. Never. So this is actually an Iowa Public Art Museum.
And it had a painting from the 1500s?
Yes. So it's called Hoyt Sherman Place. They actually had this painting by old master painter Otto van Veen. It's called Apollo and Venus. It was painted, they acquired it in the 1920s, but they never put it on display. And so the man that works at the museum was actually in one of these storerooms that they hardly ever use. He was looking for flags, some kind of flags to put on display, and he found the painting. And this thing is worth millions of dollars. Millions. Like some of his paintings have sold between $4 and $17 million. And the best that they can guess is that it was not put on display for either because it needed to be repaired, which he didn't, I don't guess it really needed that much work, or because it showed somebody's bum.
My goodness.
And I guess maybe they thought that was inappropriate or something. I mean, it's art. But apparently it's called Apollo and Venus, and it was painted between 1595 and 1600. And they did do some restoration on it after being found in the storeroom, and they are going to put it on display.
So is the guy going to get any money off this?
I don't think so, because I mean, it was donated to the museum. He just works for the museum,
I don't care.
so it belongs to the museum.
But they wouldn't have known.
Maybe not. I don't know.
This is what creates a ledger. This guy's going to be stealing crap the rest of his career because they didn't get. Come on, give this guy some money.
A bonus,
$1
at least,
million.
right?
Give
bonus.
him $1 million. Just $1 million.
Well, I mean, they're not going to
After taxes,
sell,
please.
Yeah, they're not going to sell the painting or anything. They're just going to restore it and put it.
God.
And the artist is
This
actually.
is why, if this happened to me, I'm a very honest person, but I also don't like being burned. If this happened to me, I'm going to take that damn thing out. I'm going to buy an old house and I'm going to put it up in the attic. And I'm just going to, I'm going to be like, hey, can somebody come look at this? This is crazy. I can't believe what I found.
Look what I found in my attic. Oh my God.
Because they didn't know. Just nuts.
But the guy that painted it, Otto van Veen, he actually has works hanging everywhere, including the Louvre. And he is a Flemish painter, Dutch, from Belgium.
Oh, I thought maybe
Flemish, from Flem, yes.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, just because of how much we talk about the odd things that they find in museum storerooms. And I mean, that's not even a big museum. That's just a local museum.
Oh, absolutely.
I think all museums, there should be a law that you have to go through your back room and clean it out, see what's back there.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
All right. So I have one more story.
Okay.
And this is about a new luxury hotel that they are taking deposits for, that they're going to do, that's going to orbit 200 miles above the Earth. A new luxury hotel, and it only costs $792,000 a night.
What?
So this is called the Aurora Station, and it's billed as the first luxury hotel in space, and they hope to launch in 2021.
Wow.
But they already have a website, and you can already go ahead and pre-order a stay. And the way it works is they send you up, you spend 12 days in orbit. You get to go around the Earth so many times. You see like 384 sunrises and sunsets, and you're up there for 12 days.
Wow.
And so it's not fully, realized
Can we do a
yet.
GoFundMe and get Mad Mike up there?
Possibly. So I went to their website, and what they're doing is they're not selling, hey, let's just do this quick trip to space kind of thing. It is a 12-day stay. It starts at $9.5 million per person, which turns into $792,000 a night. It's a module that holds about 6 guests, so they can take about 6 people at a time. And before you go, you have to pay an $80,000 deposit, which is fully refundable should you choose not to go. But you actually have to do 3 months of training.
Well, yeah.
A lot of it's online, but they do
There's no way I'd be able to do.
Yeah, they do this training that gives you.
I've got that whole problem with small confined places.
Oh yeah, no,
I'd kill everybody.
You would not make it.
Yeah.
The name of the company is Orion Span.
Oh, I would make it.
And they they say that they're you'd be the last one.
Be everybody else. And then I'd get up there and be like, I'm not coming back. You're going to throw me away. I didn't mean to do it. I told you I couldn't stand to be around the people like that. He smelled like brute.
It's 3 months in. He wore Axe every day. It was terrible. 3 months done online, and their training leads to the prestigious Orion Span astronaut certification that you could possibly use for other space endeavors in the future.
That's really cool. Hey, you know what? Don't hate on Axe. Because Axe has its purposes. I tell you, I come from the wrestling world.
Right.
Axe has its purposes. It's the problem with Axe was the false advertising.
Right.
Because I'm here to tell you, the first time I sprayed myself with whatever, like Pussy Willow Mist,
Right.
The girls did not all come in a big herd
They
like
didn't
they did.
flock to you.
Yeah, well, they do anyway, but the only to get to you probably. That was some good news.
Yes, there you go. That's all my news.
Yeah, you started off with a murder and
Ended with paying $9.5 million to be a guinea pig on the first hotel in space.
it's
But you can book now.
pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. It would be really cool if it was just like if it's just a gimmick to show everybody the Earth's really flat.
Well, I really, really wanted to find out if anybody had actually, like I went to their website because I wanted to see like a sold out thing or something, like I wanted to know if anybody actually put the deposit down, but it's not like that. You have to like email for information or whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
No, it's pretty neat though. And you would think that, I mean, come on, that's amazing. Yeah. If you had the money.
I still wouldn't be one of the first people to do it though, because, what if they didn't have it quite right?
I'm different than you. I would rather do it first.
Right.
Because I think you're going to put the most effort into the first one.
Before you slack off?
It's the ones that's been, it's like when it's been doing it for 4 years and, the guys are just kind of like.
They're putting it together and they're like, we had these extra pieces. Yeah. We don't know where these go.
Yeah, they put the 30% into it. I like everything when it's shiny and new and.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you die on the first one, you're immortalized. I mean, because they're not going to have any more. They're going to be T-shirts. Your family's taken care of,
right?
If it's like 7 years in or something, it's not that big of a deal.
No, true. I mean, I think they feel like this whole low Earth orbit thing is going to be very commercialized in the future. Like that's where everybody's kind of heading.
Yeah.
So
that's so crazy, man.
It is crazy.
It's the Jetsons, and I hate the Jetsons.
I did too.
It's the worst.
That was a terrible cartoon.
It's the worst cartoon ever. Did anybody out there like the Jetsons? If you like the Jetsons, please let me know, because I hate the Jetsons.
I never liked them. No.
I didn't like the Flintstones either.
Me neither.
No,
I think the Flintstones was.
I think they're all before our time. Is the problem.
I was gonna say I think it was a little bit before our time.
I think both of those were so far before our time.
We just didn't really, associate with them very well.
Yeah, no. Scooby Doo though transcends time and space. Scooby Doo is
paranormal.
Yeah, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. But anyway, thanks for the stories. All right, well, again, we had some really cool stuff going on there, and I like the stories. It's very coincidental that all the stuff that happened. So
it was what?
Coincidence or not? That is the question. But you know what else is coincidental?
What?
ParanormalSideshow.com. That's where you go find out everything Quinky Dink. On Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. Lots of Quinky Dinks going on. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. On Instagram, Hot Quinky Dink Damn. It's John and Stacey Edwards. On YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. My pen just went across the table. Did you see that?
I didn't.
It wasn't just a roll.
Wow.
It just moved a good 6 inches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like no rolling. It can't roll. It's got one of those clip things that they shouldn't even put on pens anymore because nobody uses them.
Right.
But it's well, some people use them, I guess. But it's got the clip on there. It can't roll.
Well, I'm going to watch it. You keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, youtube.com/Paranormal Sideshows where you can find our Till Death vlog. We're both staring really hard at this pen and pretend that we're not.
Maybe we should not look at it.
Okay. Please like and I can't stand it. I'm trying not to look. Take a quick moment, like us, invite people to like our Facebook. Just put it out there, people. Be whorish with it. We need you to. If you love the show, let people know. Mm-hmm. We got an amazing base of listeners, so I want to get all the people that's downloading the. Honestly, tens of thousands of you, which is awesome. And thank you. And also if tpublic.com, teepublic.com/user/paranormal sideshow. It's where you can get the believer shirts. You can get the scientist or baffled shirts, paranormal sideshow shirt, or you can just go to paranormalsideshow.com and get Stacey's news stories. You can get all that stuff. Did it move again? Okay. You can get all.
I don't know. I'm not looking at it.
Right. Totally not looking.
Not looking.
Totally not looking right now. You know what? If they're that dumb, like I can just imagine right now there's a ghost standing here and he just looked over at you like, really?
Yeah, he's like all insulted now.
It's like, really?
I'm gonna get hit in the head with that pen in a second.
Oh, we have such a weird life. Anyway, we love you guys. And for my lovely wife, Stacey, my name is John. So long from the sideshow.
Good night.
All right, so this is really weird. This is like after the pod. So we actually got done with the finale and said goodbye and all that stuff. And I was still trying to figure out this whole pen thing because this pen has a rubber guard on the front it can't even roll across paper. And then it has to clip and it can't roll. It moved about, I know where it was. It was about right here. So realistically, it's 3 inches, guys.
Right.
Realistically, it's about 3.5 inches, but it's impossible for this thing to move. So it just moved. And where it landed, I wasn't paying attention because it was like I was sitting here looking at it, I was like, I would really like to know. And I obviously write stuff throughout every show. And I just write and I write and I write. Well, it is written. There's a word here that I wrote, and I was talking about this at the time. And my daughter's actually in here now. Ariana, come over here. Come over here.
Okay.
So here's the microphone. You see this word right here?
Yeah.
All right. It's really weird. The ink pen just moved on its own. And what does that word say?
Coincidence.
Coincidence. And I was talking about coincidences when this happened. So isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah. I was really tempted to go to the mic and just be like, John. And then just be on the show.
No, just very strange. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, the debut of Ariana on the Paranormal Sideshow for my lovely wife and my lovely daughter. So long from the Paranormal Sideshow.
Good night.
Bye.